Legendary horror actress Barbara Crampton stars as Anne, the timid wife of a small-town minister who yearns for more excitement in life, until she gets bitten by a goddamn Dracula. Actually, even then, because it turns out being a Dracula rules. Turns out being a vampire is objectively better than being Jacob's wife. Jacob's Wife is a horror comedy directed by Travis Stevens, starring the legendary Barbara Crampton as the titular Jacob's wife, and Larry Fessenden as the titular Jacob's wife's husband, Jacob. Of course, to horror fans, Barbara Crampton requires no introduction. She was the female lead in Reanimator and From Beyond. She was the mom in You're Next. Also, she was in that one. Larry Fessenden, however, is one of those guys that you see and you're like, oh hey, it's that guy. I know that guy. He's in all sorts of stuff. Most importantly to me, however, he was in the criminally underrated We Are Still Here. Well, let's not get it twisted here. This is Barbara Crampton's movie. Like, everybody else is good. Everybody else does a good performance. But it's her story, and she gets to flex her considerable chops. She's always good in a movie, but rarely is she given the chance to be as good as she could be, like she is here. She runs wild with this one, going from meek and timid to sly and predatory to assertive and commanding at the drop of a hat. After reuniting with an old flame and turning down his solicitations for an affair, prioritizing her husband's feelings over her own needs, which is going to be a theme going forward, Anne finds herself being stalked by something in the dark. I'm so sorry, this never happens to me. This is so unprofessional, but I appear to be getting a phone call, and I think what I'm gonna do just once is I'm gonna answer it live on video. Miltroid Dread? Mildew, it's me, Bobby Duke, start a channel. Yeah, you're the only one that ever calls me, so I kinda figured. Remember you thought of me when you was under the influence of marijuana edibles? Yep. I'm a Babadook is the joke. So what's up? What do you want? Well, this is kind of a long shot, but do you like horror movies? Is that a joke? Are you making a joke? I never joke. Do you know what this channel is? Do you know what we do here? I don't know. I try to limit my screen time. Something about cats? No, Bobby, this is a horror movie channel. We review horror movies on this. Oh, that sounds real interesting. Have you ever heard of Shudder? Bobby, I'm literally right now in the middle of reviewing a movie that I watched on Shudder. It's a streaming service that you can watch all your favorite horror movies on. I know. It's like Netflix for horror. It's the largest and fastest growing collection of horror and thriller content on the entire internet. I stream it directly from my Android to my Chromecast. You could use iOS or Roku or whatever. Right now, they're in the middle of their 2-month, 61 days of Halloween celebration. You got a new season of Creepshow. You got VHS 94. They also got Halloween specials from Elvira, Joe Bob Briggs, a new season of the Boulet Brothers Dragula. Maybe in this one they'll finally burn through the ditches and slam through the witches. And I know that it's only $5.99 a month, or $56.99 a year, which is an outrageous bargain. If you like this channel, like half of the movies I talk about are on Shudder, including the one I'm talking about right now, which is a Shudder exclusive. It's the only place you can watch it. Well, also you can get 30 days free if you go to shudder.com and use promo code SCARYCATS, all one word. SHUDDER.com. Oh, so you've heard of it. I'm hanging up now. Turning into a Dracula has always been a mixed bag in movies like this. On the one hand, you get power and a sense of control over your own destiny and supernatural abilities and you're immortal. But on the other hand, you gotta kill people and gorgle up their blood and you can never go out in the sun, so that's not ideal depending on where you live. Often, the sympathetic, unwilling Dracula will be some sort of metaphor for otherness. True Blood, for example, made being a Dracula a pretty direct metaphor for queerness, while also centering the narrative around a heterosexual love story, so that's a choice. I find this approach, in general, kind of ill-conceived. I get what they're going for. Draculas are beings which cannot control their impulses, and that forces them to hide who they are, lest they be deemed dangerous by the outside world. It's a sympathetic and relatable problem. Feeling like a monster, being treated like a monster. That makes the monster figure, as a kind of hero, aspirational. The issue, though, is that unlike being a Dracula, you don't have to kill people to be gay. Which is not to say that gay people can't kill people. They absolutely can and should be allowed to. Jacob's Wife is a little more thoughtful in this regard. Here, becoming a Dracula disrupts male-dominated power structures. Only women become Draculas in the movie, and they only kill men. Becoming a Dracula is explicitly framed by the main Dracula, the Master, as her way to give women power and agency that she felt she lacked in life.
I, too, was once a mouse scurrying between the feet of self-important men, until the day my master gifted me the kiss of eternity.
Becoming a Dracula, as opposed to a half Dracula as Anne spends the whole movie being, even allows you to control the hunger for blood. Like, it's all about being free and no constraints. And while obviously in real life, women becoming empowered isn't actually dangerous, it is dangerous to those power structures, which is good, by the way. To be clear, I like that about it. From the perspective of men within male-dominated spaces, women with too much power can be seen as a destabilizing force. But if that stability only benefits one group of people and harms another group of people, that stability is probably worth disrupting. You can probably tell that this is the kind of movie that's very upfront with its message, and that's gonna turn some people off. It's a little on the nose, like it really wants to make sure you get what it's trying to say.
I just don't understand why a young girl goes missing and you're also quick to blame her.
But there's enough fun character stuff and goofy over-the-top creature effects to more than make up for it in my opinion. Though, maybe take that with a grain of salt because I typically don't mind when movies are a little didactic. All of the think pieces about Squid Game prove pretty conclusively that you really cannot be so explicit about what you mean in a work of art that nobody will think you mean the exact polar opposite. That being said, as ham-handed as it may be in some ways, it's still a nuanced movie. Jacob is controlling and domineering of Anne, but in the subtle, polite way that a lot of dudes are.
I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but I need to prepare the week's sermon, if that's okay.
He doesn't entirely realize he's doing it, and mostly makes passive-aggressive remarks to put her in her place, rather than any outward display of strength or physicality.
I was just having a bad dream.
I hope that's all it was.
He relies on her to police herself through the quiet expectations that he's not forcing her to observe, but convincing her that she wishes to observe. But here's where it gets interesting. When this is brought to his attention, after a brief period of being a total dick about it, he learns and changes. Now, it's unclear by the end of the movie the degree to which those changes are anything but superficial, but he is trying to show his wife love and respect. He's not just a sexist asshole, he's a guy acclimated to male-dominated power structures. He works in a church, for Christ's sake. He wants to be better, but from Anne's perspective, is wanting to be better enough? And another thing about this movie that I want to talk about, but is going to make all of you uncomfortable and also make me very uncomfortable, is the movie's approach to sexuality. Often the sexuality of older women in media is portrayed as predatory or kind of pathetic. People call horny older women cougars, so make of that what you will. And when I say older women, I mean like older than 30 in Hollywood terms. This movie at first seems like it might play into that trope. The moment Anne becomes a Dracula, she starts dressing all sexy, gets sexy makeup, and boys look at her like, damn though, look at that sexy Dracula. With an actress like Barbara Crampton also, well, in her early career, she had a reputation for being a good sport about all the leering, male-gazing nudity she was asked to do. Like, she posed naked with the Ghoulies. So I guess that was for me specifically. Thank you, Ms. Crampton. I think her attitude towards this is cool and good, by the way, even if the scenes themselves are a little sleazy and uncomfortable to watch. But also, I'm no better, because I did put Vampire Mommy in the thumbnail and a risque picture of Crampton to get you to click. See also, my From Beyond video. I don't want to sound like a prude, it's just that women's sexuality in movies seldom makes them seem like equal participants. Now, in many key respects I am not a woman, but in my opinion, Jacob's wife has a far healthier approach to women's sexuality. Anne is someone who wants more and better sex, and it makes sense that having married a literal minister, that's something she might find lacking in her life. We see this through her perspective, and we experience how becoming a Dracula makes her a more sensual creature, and feel her desire with her. And Jesus Christ, I just had to say the word sensual in a video, I feel really uncomfortable. There's a scene, and I don't want to get too explicit here, where Anne is masturbating in front of a window because the master is making her feel all sorts of good sex stuff. And Jacob walks in, he's like, what the fuck, Anne? Why the fuck are you doing that? And while I don't think it's a good idea to masturbate in front of a window, I do think you get into Anne's head and understand her position. The audience relates to her in that scene, not to Jacob shaming her. Will women relate to this? I don't know. But I certainly felt like less of a leering creep while watching it. And this concludes the portion of the video where I make everyone uncomfortable, including myself, by talking about sex stuff. I'm gonna try not to make a habit of it. In this movie, being a Dracula seems fun. It makes her stronger, it makes her happier. When other characters immediately respond by trying to find a way to cure her, we understand how that makes her feel. Like, yeah, that's probably the right thing to do, but we get why she wouldn't want to do it. How she can resent the control others are assuming over her, even if she intellectually agrees with how they use it. Now, it's not a perfect movie. There are some pacing issues with long stretches of nothing happening, and I guess that's meant to build atmosphere, but it kind of just feels like padding. The abruptness from which it switches between plodding, thoughtful, and frankly boring to chaotic, over-the-top, delightful nonsense was a bit much, even for me. It's a complicated, sort of cynical, but sort of not romantic comedy about a middle-aged married couple disguised with a lot of horror tropes. That's gonna be a tough sell for a lot of people, because the audience for one isn't necessarily the audience for the other. What makes it work is how simple it keeps most of its genre elements. You know what a Dracula is and what they do. The movie doesn't have to waste time explaining it. Like, we know that Draculas drink blood, we know they burn up in the sun. When a character sees a Dracula or gets attacked by a Dracula, they, like the audience, recognize that this is a Dracula situation and respond like you or I would, with wooden stakes and cruciforms and shit. There's never a scene where someone sees a Dracula and goes, there's gotta be a rational explanation for this. Because they just recognize, okay, there's Draculas. Moving on. That gives everything else some time to breathe, which is good because the movie has a lot on its plate. It has a lot of things to juggle. You can watch it on Shudder, which you can get free for 30 days if you use coupon code SCAREDYCATS, all one word, if it sounds up your alley. But if you want a less complicated Dracula story, check out my video on Dracula on a Plane, the plane with a Dracula on it, also known as Blood Red Sky. A little info card should be appearing now. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Those info cards it's a difficult UI to understand. What do you think? Do you want to become a Dracula? Comment below if you want to be a Dracula. If you'd rather be Dracula than Jacob's wife, give a thumbs up. Like this video. I'm engaging with you. This is audience engagement. Don't you feel engaged?